We are back with another mock draft review, and this week we are going over a PPR Dynasty Superflex tight end premium mock draft. And so, before we get started, make sure I hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Also, go in those comments, let me know your thoughts. And today I will be letting you know my favorite pick, my least favorite pick, some added notes, and the 2022 ranking. And before we get started, go down in our description and get into our Discord, because that is where you're going to be able to get into these mock drafts and get those teams reviewed by me. All right, it's time.
In the first slot, we have Justin's team, and my favorite pick of his was Dalvin Cook at the 501. I actually thought about taking Dalvin Cook in the fourth round at that fifth pick, and to get him in the fifth round is insane value, in my opinion. On the other hand, my least favorite pick is Zach Wilson at the 612. I personally would just rather have Tua Tagovailoa, Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Mac Jones. I know some of those names might sound crazy, but I'm just not a big believer in Zach Wilson, even though he is basically guaranteed to be a starter throughout his rookie contract, which is always good for a quarterback, but still, I just don't think that you're going to get really any production that's going to wow you. And then some added notes. It's going to have problems in Dynasty with a lot of aging assets, but it is an immediate contender for the playoffs. If Odell signs back with the Rams, which I expect him to do, that's going to be a really solid pick with upside. In 2022, the rank I have for Justin's team is 6th overall. And then in the second slot, we have Gary's team, and my favorite pick of theirs was Kareem Hunt at the 902. If you've been watching these mock draft reviews, you know that basically every single video, whoever takes Kareem Hunt, they're my favorite pick because Kareem Hunt is just criminally underrated every single draft. And then in the least favorite pick category, I have Deebo Samuel at the 211. I'm just not quite as high on Deebo Samuel as everyone else. I think he had a really good year, but with Trey Lance coming in, there's just some question marks there, and I think Trey Lance loves to chuck the ball down the field, and so I think Brandon Ayuk might benefit a little bit more than Debo when it comes to that because Debo's more of a run after the catch kind of guy, but he will get his carries, he'll get his. But I would rather have Stephon Diggs, Jaylen Waddle, and Davante Adams over him easily. Some added notes is Ertz with the 12th round pick was incredible as he was much more productive than people think he was last year. I do prefer Chris Olave over Jameson Williams by a pretty decent amount, and Olave went 3 rounds after. The crazy thing about Jameson Williams is he was on the Ohio State Buckeyes, couldn't see the field. So the fact that Ohio State thought Chris Olave deserved to be one of the top receivers at Ohio State and Jameson Williams didn't even see the field honestly says a lot to me. So my 2022 ranking for Gary's team is 9th overall. And then in the third spot, we have the Mo Brule. I think I'm saying that right. And my favorite pick of theirs was Tyler Lockett at the 903. Tyler Lockett's one of those guys who he is a little bit inconsistent, but to get him in the ninth round and he finished as the wide receiver 15 overall last season, I just really like that value there. And you have people like Brandon Cooks who I really like, and Kadarius Toney who has some solid upside, and so I really like that pick there. My least favorite pick, on the other hand, is George Pickens at the 810. I think he's a bit overvalued in rookie drafts, and it's translating into startup drafts. I'd prefer taking a risk in the 10th or 11th round of startups with Pickens. There's just a lot of question marks there, especially with his injury history, and kind of to see where he'll fall in the draft. Some added notes is this is a very solid team. Definitely a team that could make a sneaky playoff run if Lance is what we all in the dynasty community expect him or what he could be. And then Adams, if he stays in Green Bay, and Zeke can turn back the clock and just have another RB1 season. If they can do all these things, this could definitely be a team that could make the playoffs and make a run. And so my 2022 playoff for this team is 7th overall. And then in the fourth spot, we have Brady's team. My favorite pick of his was Amari Cooper at the 704. Amari Cooper is someone who continues to be overlooked, especially with the uncertainty surrounding him, whether he'll be on the Cowboys next year or not. No matter what, Amari Cooper is someone who is an incredible route runner, and that's going to age very gracefully over time. And so I really like him in Dynasty. My least favorite pick is Cortland Sutton at the 1009. I'd prefer Juju. I'd prefer Dalton Schultz and Allen Robinson. I just don't see any upside with Cortland Sutton. The only time he was ever good was when Jerry Jeudy was out, and even then, he wasn't a superstar by any means. I just don't see any real value with Cortland Sutton, and I think he just has some value just based on his name alone. And some added notes is a solid starting lineup, but not enough that wowed me to think this is a team that could be a contender. And then on top of that, I think the middle of the third round is the right price point for Trevor Lawrence. I know he's been going fairly early in some of these Superflex startup mock drafts, and so I'm really glad to see his price point being a lot more reasonable. The 2022 rank I have for Brady's team is 10th overall. And then in the fifth spot, we have Zach's team, our guest. And Zach, honestly, I really enjoyed Zach's draft. My favorite pick of his was Russell Wilson at the 408. That is insane. I know Russ is coming off a really rough year, but Russell Wilson is still a top tier quarterback. And I don't really expect that to change. He's only 33 years old. He's got 4 or 5, maybe even 6 more really good years left in him. My least favorite pick, on the other hand, may come as a surprise, but it was Jamar Chase at the 105. I don't necessarily hate this pick, but I do have Justin Jefferson higher in my rankings and would rather have Pitts in a tight end premium league. Some added notes are he has the best wide receiver room by far, but below average running backs, which does balance each other out. Got some great values on quarterbacks as he did snipe Tua from me. And then on top of that, he has the DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson stack, and I know that things are up in the air a little bit in Seattle, but I do expect them to remain in Seattle this coming year and years to come. And 2022 rank I have for Zach's team is 5th overall. In the 6th slot, we have Craig from Roto Heat. And my favorite pick of his was Travis Etienne at the 506. Travis Etienne is just a very versatile player. To get him in the 5th round, he could very well be the next new age Alvin Kamara. And there's a chance if he plays up to his potential that he could be a 2nd round, maybe even a late 1st round startup pick next year. I know that might sound insane, but he's just one of those guys with a lot of upside, but there is also a lot of risk there. He's on his 2nd coaching staff, but he is playing with his former college teammate in Trevor Lawrence, who they really liked each other, and so I do expect Travis Etienne to have a very solid season. My least favorite pick was Rashad Bateman at the 706. Now, there's no way I could take Rashad Bateman over Marquise Hollywood Brown, who was the wide receiver 1 on the Ravens, and so this is just a kind of a crazy pick for me, but hey, if it's your guy, you get your guy. But for me personally, if you're looking for value, that is not the place to get value. Some added notes is there isn't really a position on the team that stands out to me, which makes me think that this team doesn't have the upside that some of the others do. There's some young talent that could be on the rise in fantasy value through Garrett Wilson, Rashad Bateman, Kadarius Toney, and Kyron Williams. But for Craig's team in 2022, I have this team ranked as 11th overall. And then in the 7th slot, we have Arsenal. And my favorite pick of theirs was Calvin Ridley at the 507. Uh, I was very frustrated. I was really hoping that Ridley made it back to me, and he did not. So Arsenal got me good on this night. My least favorite pick, on the other hand, was Mac Jones at the 707. Yeah, this is definitely a nitpicking least favorite pick, but I prefer to wait on a quarterback since Mac Jones doesn't offer the rushing upside and hasn't shown to be an elite passer yet. For this team, I definitely would have gone with Dallas Goedert here. Some added notes is it's a well-rounded team and got some great value with many picks. Spiller and Dotson could produce in year 1, and they'll play a big role in how this team finishes in 2022. And for that reason, I have Arsenal's 2022 rank as 2nd overall. And then in the 8th slot, we have my team, and my favorite pick was Pat Freiermuth at the 805. I could not believe that Pat Freiermuth fell so far to me. If I didn't take Kyle Pitts in the 1st round, I probably would have taken him in the 6th or 7th. I just kept looking at his name, and the fact that he fell to the 8th, I was thrilled. And my least favorite pick was Matt Corral at the 908. Some added notes is getting Kirk Cousins in the 10th round was huge to solidify my Superflex starting spot in case Corral doesn't see the field next year, if at all. And so I really do like how my team turned out after going Pitts with my first pick. I'm always very hesitant, but like I said, I really liked how it turned out. And for my team, I have the 2022 rank as 4th overall. And in the 9th spot, we have 1738. He is the one who requested to have this mock draft done. And shout out to Will B. Will B is my boy. We met in college. We were freshman year roommates. Just want to give him a quick shout out. But my favorite pick of his was Leonard Fournette at the 1004. My least favorite pick was Jalen Hurts at the 404. I just don't expect him to be the starter after this year. Russ, for me, would have been the move here because when it comes to Dynasty, I will definitely take the discount on the older quarterback. Some added notes is this team is built to win now. 17-38 sniped me both on DeAndre Hopkins and Leonard Fournette, which was killing me. But they had a really good draft, and if they had a legit QB2, I probably have this team as the top team in 2022. But for those reasons, I have Will B's team as third overall in the 2022 ranking. And then in the 10th slot, we have Swamp Nola. My favorite pick of theirs was Travis Kelce at the 403. Just such great value for someone who was going much higher last year, and he just continues to get more of a discount as he gets older. And my least favorite pick was David Bell at the 10:03. It's really not a terrible pick by any means, but Fournette and Cousins would have been a better fit for this win now team. Some added notes is I thought I had a really good tight end room, but this team has the best tight end room in the league by far. Michael Thomas's comeback here will be a huge for this team winning a championship. And I think Swamp Nola has the best chance of winning the league, and I have their 2022 rank as first overall. And then in the 11th spot, we have Josh's team, part of the Front Yard Fantasy. And my favorite pick of his was Daniel Jones at the 11-11. I'm not really high on Daniel Jones, but at this value, that is an absolute steal in my opinion. With his rushing upside, I think he is someone who is a great third quarterback to get on your team in Superflex leagues. My least favorite pick, on the other hand, was Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 7-11. Honestly, Josh is a Ravens fan, and I cannot believe he did not draft Marquise Hollywood Brown over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hollywood just gets the targets that Amon-Ra probably won't see next year because they'll probably draft a wide receiver, and also they'll have a healthy DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson. Some added notes, though, are the running backs don't show much upside, but this team has enough talent to make the playoffs and possibly make a run, even though it's definitely a long shot. And so I have Josh's team in 2022 ranked as 8th overall. And then in the final 12th spot, we have JL of Front Yard Fantasy as well. My favorite pick of his was Dallas Goedert at the 7-12. Man, I could not believe some of the values on tight ends in this draft, and Dallas Goedert was definitely one of them. My least favorite pick was Justin Fields at the 401. I'd rather have DJ Moore, Travis Kelce, Deontay Johnson, Russell Wilson, and J.K. Dobbins. I think those would all be better picks. I am just a known Justin Fields hater, and so at the same time, really Steve Carroll, get your guy. But for me, Justin Fields is just drafted a little too highly here. Some added notes is the wide receiver room here is the worst in the league. Just too many rookies to bet on for successful year in year one. But I do love the running backs on this team, and this team could very well be a team that succeeds later on. But for 2022, I do have JL's team ranked as 12th overall.
I want to thank you all so much for coming out and watching this mock draft review. Don't forget, go in the comments. Let me know who your favorite team is and why. And before we go, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. And again, go down in our description, get into our Discord. We would love to draft with you. I would love to review your team because we do mock draft Mondays almost every Monday this offseason. And you can also go in our Discord and ask for what type of mock draft you want to do. This week we had 1738 here in this draft. Request this mock draft. And so you can also go ahead and request a mock draft in our Discord. And either on this side or this side, one of these two sides, we'll have our actual mock draft that I did just review. And then right under that will be the playlist for all the mock drafts that you can go ahead and click on. And you can go through and see where some of these players are valued, not just in this draft, but in other drafts too. All right, until next time.